Life provides us with enough unpredictability on its own, meaning the more we can do to better ourselves, the better opportunities we'll have. As adults, if we put ourselves into tough positions through our own actions, we do have to live with the consequences of those choices. Sometimes that may result in the birth of a human being, which is a truly amazing thing. Yet the circumstances we provide for that child are not its fault, but ours. The blame can always be placed back to our parents and how we believe that they'd failed us, and our child can do the same with us, and our parents can do the same with theirs. Ultimately, we are responsible for the good and bad that we bring them into. And as men, there is a machismo in being promiscuous, yet for some reason not in being a father. Things like this reflect a broken society, as the most fundamental and seemingly obvious things are somehow not known or considered. Similarly, by being promiscuous, we often don't choose or select based on the same standards for having a husband or wife, as our objectives aren't the same, resulting in sexual encounters with people who we would never want to actually have children with. For some, the result is pregnancy and childbirth, providing a situation where the parents must now learn to be with each other as a new couple, while simultaneously learning how to be parents to their new child. Many evangelicals may preach the gospel and thump their Bible to show the validity of abstinence before marriage, and the underlying principle is valid in situations like this. The likelihood of staying together, the financial and emotional readiness, the environment and opportunities for the child are likely to be worse than that of parents who have purposefully prepared or are actively trying to have a child. Common sense indicates that, as it's a surprise for one and a plan for the other. It's important to consider the realities of having a child and the realities of being tied with the mother or father of that child. Selfishly for us, our future opportunities are limited, as if we are truly being a mother or father, we will invest in our family and children first. Yet when we don't do this because we aren't compatible with the mother or father, or we have extraneous drama preventing us from seeing our children like legal or economic trouble, they miss out on consistency in one of their two most important relationships. Socially, this results in young adults who are more likely to succumb to the pitfalls in society, maybe even the same ones that dictated their circumstance, as their learning curve is steeper and the support system and positive references are smaller. This is further exemplified through the statistics. By nearly every metric, children who come from single-parent households are more likely to be consumed by the various problems in society. This goes for imprisonment, lack of education, suicide, being impoverished, drug addictions, and various mental health issues. As I've mentioned before, it's interesting how we can put so much of a focus on mental health, yet conveniently not shine a light to arguably the start to many of these mental health issues. Even disregarding the statistics, it's not exactly difficult to see how children from a single-parent household would have additional struggles. Many children who are raised in a single-parent household do not know their biological father, giving them essentially half of the emotional, social, financial, and spiritual resources that they should have. Boys require fathers to provide a good example on the man that they would like to be, while daughters are provided a baseline for a healthy relationship with males. Most children see things they dislike and like, and take a subconscious mental note whether to repeat it or seek it out. The child is made up of roughly half the father's genetic pool, meaning they should have one of the closest bonds by default, giving them stability and self-confidence. Absence of this directly impacts their future socialization, skill development, work, life, or school experience, and what to expect from the world when they're on their own. Specifically for women, the stereotype is to be approached rather than to approach, so it's important to have a good set of filters or boundaries when others might not. For both sons and daughters, this relationship with the father and how they see him interact with those around him, including their mother, directly influences what they see as normal and even cool. Familiarity in an unfamiliar world. Unfortunately, when we don't put attention into things like this, we put our children in positions to repeat our mistakes. There is no shortage of stories about politics or violence and so on, yet there is when it comes to promoting a nuclear family. It may seem strange to focus on such a niche issue, yet advertisement campaigns, media, and social trends have changed the perspective on single parenthood from being a rather unfortunate thing to it being positive or empowering even. Like most stances, campaigns have been formed around this viewpoint which aim to do right by decreasing stigma and increasing resources, but come with unintended consequences when the negative aspects of single parenthood are shadowed by what is presented as positive. Strangely, promoting a traditional nuclear family is seen as a stereotypically right-leaning or conservative viewpoint, as they generally use the Bible as evidence for their claims. And I say strangely because having a traditional family is not a political stance unless someone is actively campaigning against that. The idea of family is also changing from stereotypically encompassing a man, woman, and child to now encompassing same-sex couples. I do believe that a child can have a great and fulfilling childhood if they're raised by two gay, lesbian, or transgender parents, similarly to the fact that they can have a great and fulfilling childhood if they're raised by a single parent or even in the foster system. My point isn't to say that it can't happen, but rather to provide insight on why the traditional nuclear family does have validity and is ultimately the best option for creating a healthy society. It's also the foundation for any of these alternative approaches that come after it. The interesting thing about being raised by two mothers or two fathers is just that. You're missing one set of parent and have two sets of the other. No matter how effeminate a man or masculine a woman is, they will not replace the innate default experiences that one has as a biological member of the other sex. This doesn't disqualify their opinion or perspective, but does create additional factors in the already complicated nature of raising children. Our society provides us great luxuries, so much so that we lose sight of why we have certain traditions. Having a mother and father may be a traditional stance. It may be a religious stance. Yet it was part of the natural human experience before those viewpoints even existed. When it comes to the general issues we have in society, the least common denominator is family. For many people, family has eroded over time, leaving them in a more difficult starting position and less ties to people that can give them knowledge and opportunities. While this doesn't limit someone to a life of failure and misery, it may provide them with additional hurdles to get over, which really bastardizes the idea of standing on your parents' shoulders. If we have that general trend in society, and no real social pressure to correct it, the society around us is sure to fall apart, which we can kind of see now. If we decide we want to procreate, we must remember the responsibility and consequence it entails, not just for us, but for our children, and on a larger scale, for society.